If you're an average player, you want to be left alone, right? Because you want to be able to slide by. If you're a good player, you want to be coached. If you're a great player, you want the coach to tell you the truth every day. Did I hustle on that play? Did I make the right read? Did I play the guy with the right leverage? You want to know every play. Because you know why? They want to be perfect. Everybody here makes a choice to do one of those three things.
Welcome to the GOAT Consulting Podcast, a podcast dedicated to people striving to be a GOAT, the greatest of all time, serving it up in a way that you can get it in all stages of life.
I'm Colby Jubenville, and welcome to a different episode of the GOAT Consulting Podcast right here in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. We're in Pod Studio 1, and we're a quick cast, a learning cast, and the table looks a little bit different today.
Yes, it does.
We've got Tyler to the right. He is the punt, pass, and kick champion. He has a new clothing line, and he's always the CEO and founder of the GOAT family of brands. Tyler, we love you that you're being here today.
Yep.
I'm going to let you introduce James here in just a second. I will say we do have James Webb right here, originally from Antioch, spent some time in Murfreesboro. From all parts Tennessee, and we'll get to him in just a second. We're glad you're here with us today.
Oh, yeah.
And then always John Byers, who is the LinkedIn whisperer, the calming force, and the captain of Kintsugi.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. We hope you put a little
dive into the archives for that.
We hope you put a little Kintsugi on the conversation for today.
Okay.
But we do have James Webb, and James is a close friend to John and the show.
Yes.
And part of your unique perspective, education, and most importantly, your unique experience.
That's right.
In how you do what you do. So I'm going to take a step back, and I'm going to let you take it over there for James.
Well, I cannot express how excited I am to have James join us here today. Of all the episodes that we have done that has been put out into the world of our global listeners, maybe one other time have I shared a GOAT that I've actually met.
Yeah.
And that was, I think my grandpa was really like my dad. This is the second time that I get to share about a GOAT, and I'm going to break protocol a little bit because we're not quite there yet, but it's appropriate because James Webb is a GOAT.
Oh.
And he is...
I'll get you a hat for that.
He is a dear friend.
He's buying it.
I'll do it.
He is a dear friend, Colby, as you mentioned, but that's not initially how our relationship started. It started because... I believe it was my wife, Vanessa, and I had gone out to a restaurant in Nashville, one of the best spots on the planet, Urban Grub. And one of the reasons it's the best spot on the planet is because James runs the show there. And he may not necessarily say he runs the show, but he really runs the show there. And we sat at one of his tables that night and developed a relationship over a couple of years that just has become really special to me. There's one person, I'm actually feeling some guilt and some shame as I start to share this morning. There's one person every time I go to see him that I take bourbon to. One, and it's James Webb.
There you go.
Wow. Awesome.
And I will tell you, a couple years after our relationship, this was about 3.5 years ago, a very marking moment for me was I was considering making a move to the current firm that I'm with now, and a couple of guys were coming into town, rock star people, and they were flying in just to take me and Vanessa out to dinner, and they found out how much we love Urban Grub, and they set a reservation there, and they were flying in on the company jet to take us to dinner, and then they were flying home that evening.
Yeah.
Right? And so I called and I said, hey, I knew we were going there, obviously. I said, hey, I want to make sure we're sitting with James. So we go to his table, and it's this table. It's kind of elevated above the restaurant. You can kind of see the kitchen. What do they call that table?
The chef's table.
The chef's table. And it's round, and it maybe seats 7.
About 6 or 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're sitting up there, and I'm with, it's me and Vanessa, one of the partners, and his wife, and a couple other folks.
Why aren't we there?
James comes over, and he says, I don't know what y'all did to be able to sit with John and Vanessa tonight, but you need to understand how fortunate you are.
All right, Paul, put a pause right there because that is a great segue into what we're going to be talking about today, which is this, is that not just about competing on perspective, unique perspective, education, experience, and this being a tangible example of it, but in business, the only thing that is more important than the client relationship is the client dinner.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that you use that to build your relationships is a critical piece to your perspective and education experience, how you compete in the industry of market of ideas.
Yeah. No,
Right?
you nailed that. And I need to finish this thought on James because it is a way that I can honor you and that you deserve to be honored. But I would say, Colby, to that end, even beyond business, and we all believe this.
Yeah.
Or let me speak for myself. I believe one of the greatest qualities any of us can have is to be able to create an environment in life, business, relationship that allows and encourages connection. And James, you are the GOAT at that. That's why you're the GOAT for this episode. And I wrote it like this. I looked up the word catalyst. And that word, as I thought about you and this episode, kept coming to mind over and over. And this is the definition of it. A substance that can be added to a reaction to increase the reaction rate without getting consumed in the process. And it's a scientific term, but it's what you do better than anybody on the planet.
Well, damn.
You are a catalyst.
And the name of this show, by the way, the name of this episode is King James.
King
Apparently.
James.
We're not talking about LeBron or the.
I want to hear a
the
little bit
NBA.
about how James got here.
So welcome to the show. Yeah, tell us about it.
Well, thank you.
Catalyst.
The catalyst. I was 15. I wanted a dang leather jacket, and my stepfather, rest his soul, he said, Otis, that's right. He said, you need to go get a job. And I got a job at Fuddruckers at Harding Place.
Oh, God, I love Fuddruckers.
My first regular was Steve
good.
McNair.
wow, awesome.
And Steve McNair actually helped me purchase my first leather coat. And it was something about that. It stuck with me. And I've done all kinds of craziness in my life, lived a fun life in my 20s. But
Who doesn't?
exactly. But I always fell back on what I do now. And it's a lot of people look at it as mediocre. You're just waiting tables, that sort of stuff. But I'm selling a sizzle. The food's going to be there. I sell you an experience. I want you to, when you come in, I want you to be synonymous with me. I want us to think the same, act the same. And I want the next time you to get hungry, you think, let's go see James.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, last time I was in, there was a table not far from us in front of the fireplace. It was a couple, and the guy got up and hugged you, and I felt angry about it. I'm like, no, like that's my job.
guy.
Like I hugged James. Like I have did he bring you bourbon? No. Like you don't do that. That's how but that's what you've created.
Exactly.
That's exactly what you just talked about.
The connection.
Yeah. That's what we've talked about almost every episode of this show.
And Steve McNair is obviously a GOAT, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
One of my
What a
favorites.
great moment to share with the audience. So that planted the seed for you.
Mm-hmm.
First your stepdad Otis to say, hey man, you want it, go to work and get it.
That's right.
Right.
And then the second to go, hey, here's a vehicle, a way that I can go and do it.
That's it.
And then at what point did you intersect with John, and what do you remember about that, and what was that like, the first interaction that you had with him?
Actually, if I'm not, I stole John from Otis.
Right, true.
I stole the sale. I did. My dad, Lord rest his soul, he was off his game that day, and John was complaining about something, and I slid in and made it better.
I don't like that was the memory. I was complaining about something.
Well, you were rightful that day. When I say that man was off his game, he was off his game. You were rightful to complain. Ain't nobody said nothing bad. It was, trust me.
The things we think and do not say.
But here's the thing. He never said anything. You could see it in his eyes.
Okay.
You could see how he was upset in his eyes. So read him from afar brought me in.
EQ.
Yeah.
It wasn't that he said anything. He wasn't no Nancy or nothing up there complaining. No. It's because I could just see in his eyes he was not having a good time. And it's a roll of a dice. He might come in and sit in my section next time. I'll make sure he's smiling today.
You know, one of the things you said to that point is when we were kind of prepping recently about the episode, you said, whether I'm your server or not, if you ask where the bathroom is, I'm going to make you laugh on the way there.
Yes.
Like, how do you become so masterful at connection? And one of the other things that you said is, I don't have secrets. Like, this is what I do. But that's what goats do. Like, it comes so easy to them in some ways. In some ways, it does. I mean, you actively, intentionally have to work on it. Mm-hmm. But goats think like that because what you do in your goatness is so special and unique.
It's fun. To me, it's fun. I'm a country boy. I grew up, you work at a yard until you find shade, and then you sit down, you have a break, and you go back to dang work. That's right. To me, it's all fun, and it's all games. I'm just laughing. I'm enjoying life. I enjoy watching other people smile and know that I had a little bit of something to do with it. That's not a bad feeling. I've done this long enough. By gosh, I need the financial gain from it.
Don't we all?
Yeah, exactly. I need the financial gain.
Not yet. Well, first, yeah. So you found this, and we talked about this in a previous episode, but through all that adversity, because it's tough to hear when somebody says, "Hey, you want that jacket?" You go find a way to get it. Mm-hmm. In the world we live in today, you want that jacket, here's the credit card, go get it, right? And so through that struggle, through that adversity, you were able to make some decisions about your own life and your own awareness of the gifts that you have and the way that you can create value for other people. Mm-hmm. And that's part of what makes you the goat that you are. When you think about being a goat, or when you think about the definition of a goat, what is it? What do you think a goat looks like in your world?
Charles Barkley.
Charles Barkley. The round mound of rebound.
That's it. I
loved him.
He fought for every accolade he had.
Yeah.
And like many guys that played in that era, the only reason why he didn't have a ring was because of Jordan. But he fought for every inch of every accolade he ever had. But one thing that stuck with me, I'm not a role model.
Yeah.
And it's not that he said that. It's because at that level in life, he had enough gumption to speak from the heart and speak how he felt.
Yeah.
At a time when nobody was doing that.
I don't, but it connected me to the Jerry Maguire moment, 35, when he said, I'm going to stop being who everybody else tells me I'm supposed to be.
That's right. Mm-hmm. That's right. And he took a lot of heat for that, didn't he?
He did.
He took a lot of heat for playing. They were criticizing for him playing the way that he played, as hard as he played. And a group of people believed that he was not living up to the role model that he should live up to. And so his response was simply, I'm not a role model. I'm playing a role on this basketball team, and this is the way I'm going to play it.
And he ended the quote with, I'll never forget it. If you want a role model, look up to your mom and dad.
Which is true.
Which is true. Absolutely right.
Which is true.
Wow, never thought about
a great goat. So you gotta live up to that one. Who is your goat for today?
I can't.
Well, I'll step in there for you.
Yeah, do that.
To me, my goat that resonates with this conversation and what we're talking about today, which is the experience, right? Does the experience matter? Does the connection matter? How can you live in that moment? And the poet Maya Angelou said this that I think is so powerful. She said that they'll remember what you said, and they'll remember what you did, but they'll never forget the way you made them feel.
Absolutely true.
And I think that's really what you're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Is that you walked away, and you do every time, and not only do you feel that connection, but the people that are at the table feel that connection. And that's a huge part of how we build meaningful relationships that last over the test of time.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that you said, and I don't want to pass over it, but yeah, you nailed it.
Thank you.
You just need that validation.
Yeah, I'm a middle child.
Yeah, I've got a couple of those. One of the things you said, now that I've lost my train of thought here,
connection.
I want to know how James got. I want to know how James got to where he's at. We stopped at Fuddruckers. I really want to know.
Yeah. How did you get to Urban Grub?
You had Fuddruckers and you had Steve McNair. Where does it? I mean, that's almost like the pinnacle for a waiter, right?
I went to the boundary. I interviewed 3 times to get this job, and I kept missing this job, and my dad worked there, and he's considered the greatest. He was. When you came to this town, you wanted somebody to show out with. You went to him at his time. Well,
really? Mm-hmm. So you were being literal when you said,
yeah. I took him.
Okay.
Yeah, I took John from the greatest. I did.
Okay.
I did.
All right.
So I get there, and one of these times I take this interview, and I'm like, I'm not doing all this to wait tables. This was the it restaurant in Nashville, because back then it was only one or two.
Right.
But I'm not doing all this to wait tables here. And I'm walking down the stairs, and I run into the little manager, and he looks at me and goes, you still trying to get a job? Come back tomorrow with a white shirt, you're hired. And I got on at the Boundary, which was the hardest job in town to get on, with chicken shack experience compared to the fine dining restaurants that these other guys worked with. And I just dug my heels in and said, this is what I want to do. I have fun making people laugh, and that's what I did. And somehow, some way, it turned from a job to get a leather jacket and maybe some clothes, a nice bottle of bourbon or something. It's something I do. It's something I don't see myself not doing, whether I stay waiting or I'll go into ownership. This is where I want to be.
And, you know, one of the things I've shared with you before, and I know others feel this way too, like, I would love to invest in whatever that ownership piece looked like for you, because it's an investment in you. You are the winner. You are the winning component. And this is what I was going to share earlier. I mean, the fact that you want to be synonymous when somebody gets hungry, I mean, that's what really goats do, right? It's in a similar way why we call tissue Kleenex or a cotton swab Q-tip, right?
Yeah.
It's like they've become that household name when somebody thinks I need that.
That's what I want to do with turf, right?
Right? Exactly. Yep. And that's what you've done. It's really incredible. How did you go ahead.
Is the captain's table the one with the fire pit in the middle?
No, but we went there.
Well, that's one of the first memories I have of you.
That's where I met you, John.
That's right. So what do y'all call? Is it called the fire pit table or what's
No,
that?
it's a table I don't ever work at. It's in the bar.
That's right. You only the real people, right?
Fire pit in the middle.
Don't plan on coming there for just an hour. We're going to be there for a couple
We're
hours.
going to be there for
right?
a couple hours. You're right. And we did have fun that night you were there.
We did. We did.
We did have fun at that fire pit
How did you
table.
get to Urban Grub?
So Jay Pennington and Billy Inman are some of the smartest restaurateurs I've ever read about.
Yes, they are, because they hired you.
Well, they pat them on the back for that. But I got to the Urban Grub because Jay used to own the Boundary. My dad, me just following my dad's footsteps. We stayed with Jay, and I said, well, I'm going to stay with Jay too because my dad did. And that's how I ended up there. I started working out, went in, I got some andouille sausage and a Guinness.
Oh, gosh.
That andouille sausage got me, man. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I forgot all about my dad, and I started working with that andouille sausage, and it was over.
Yeah.
How long have you been at Urban Grub now?
8 years.
8 years.
Which is rare for restaurant people. Most people, they jump around.
Yep.
So can you walk us? Well, let me step back. Anything else that you feel like is important to share about your story, about how you got today? Any more like defining moments that you feel like the audience needs to know about you?
Or is there maybe one time where, and this is maybe way off topic, but maybe where at one point you made $100 a night, never could get over the $100 a night mark, and then you learned how to do something different to impact people differently to get
to 200
and 300 and 400, and maybe that's way off topic where we're going, but because that's for me, right? That's kind of where I'm at in my business is, well, if you're stuck at, let's say you're going in to own a restaurant, right, and you're stuck at a number and you really need to get to another number to get over the hump. Like what helped you turn from good to great? There's got to be a defining moment when you said, you know what, I want to be the person they think of when they're hungry. What got you from just serving, just buying a leather jacket, to I want to be the best server. I want to be unforgettable. I want to be who they think of when they think about food.
Honestly, it was I needed repeat business.
Mm-hmm.
You can feed everybody in Nashville today. Because I'm in Nashville. So you can feed everybody in Nashville today. But tomorrow when they get hungry, where are they going to go?
Mm-hmm.
I need some of them people to come back to me. I need some of them people to be like, the food was great. But man, that joke you said, I can't believe you said it. That was crazy.
Yeah.
Well, and so how many people any given night do you have that are repeat customers?
Like, would you say 50%, 30%, 100%?
30%.
30%?
I've got a lot of customers that I can call Like John, every once in a while, I ain't seen him in a while. I send him a picture of a pork chop or something.
There you go. Hey, if
Fish him on in there.
I'll tell you send me a picture of that pork chop with that apple on top. You go
fish him on in there. You know what I mean?
You won't even have to throw the reel. I'm going to jump out of the water to get it.
We walked out of that deal, and Tyler texted me and said, I don't care what John says or what he says it costs or whatever. I'm going with him after that apple on a pork chop.
God, pork chop.
We need to talk more about that.
You know, John's wearing a shirt today that says "Never Settle," and certainly we don't ever settle right here at the GOAT Consulting Podcast. So
you can take it off.
So, what'd you say? Zip and strip. We thought this deal with King James was so good that we decided we're going to continue the conversation, and we'll do that in part two with King James.
See if he earns his hat.
That's right.